Okay, hi sluts. Pussy, mind, body, spirit, soul. What is slut camp? Let's get into it. Blocked immediately. Welcome back. Hi sluts. Welcome the fuck back. Camp Counselor Emma. Fucking, we're back. Slut summer, slut casual. What did I call it last time? Slutness casual, like business casual, but make it slutty. That's what we're sporting today. We've got our slut camp mug, obviously. And we have to start with our slut affirmation, of course, because duh. I didn't have one last two episodes. I was depriving you guys, but we're back. AKA I came up with more things. Okay, this slut affirmation is interesting because it's kind of more of a tip for the girls, okay? It's a sexual slut affirmation, as if they're all not sexual, but this one is like a specific hack that not a lot of the girlies know. What is it, you might ask? When you are giving that sucky, the number one thing that we struggle with, right, is like choking, gag reflex, like literally like throwing up on the dick. Like that's every girl's biggest fear, throwing up on the dick. How are we not going to throw up on the dick? This is what you do. Squeeze your thumb. It's so weird. I don't know who told me this, but it was like maybe like 8th grade that I learned this. If you squeeze your thumb while you're giving head, you don't have a gag reflex. I don't know if it's a scientifically proven thing or it's a placebo, but it fucking works every single time. So next time you give that sucky, squeeze your thumb. Sucky, mommy wants suckies. And as you're getting ready to take shots with your girls tonight, shake ass, keep squeezing your thumb. Practice makes perfect. And that is how you give head without throwing up on the dick. Thank you. Our agenda for today's episode 13, lucky number 13. We have a quick, not so quick / update on the roster, update on some men, some stories that have collected over the past X amount of weeks. There are 2 good ones. And then we're going to move into all of my friends are getting boyfriends. What the fuck? And then we're going to talk about meeting men in real life versus on social media versus on a random dating app versus like IRL, and why it's like absolutely like petrifying. That's our agenda. Let's jump the fuck in. Starting with our men updates. So, as you all know, there's been one that's a continuous key player for the past 6 months at this point. I think in the last episode, we were not speaking to him, but we're speaking to him again. New Year's Eve man has returned. I'll revisit, like, if you forgot who that is, we'll revisit his story in a little bit. But skipping ahead, while me and Mr. New Year's were not speaking, I went on 4 dates. I went on 2 dates with 2 separate men. Both start with the letter M. We'll call them like double M's. Okay. M number 1 was the first one. Both of them like short kings, large penises. Okay. We love like the best package. I go on the date with one guy. He's great. He works at this like large company that's like everyone's familiar with. And he has like these crazy benefits where he gets like free Ubers all month, like every month, like forever basically. He gets like a big credit from his company and he gets like food delivery or whatever. That's important in a second. So we go to this wine bar and we definitely get like a little bit hammered, but like in a tasteful way. And then he calls me a car home. Hot. It was maybe a 7-minute walk from my house, but I was like, literally, thank you so much. And then later that weekend, he's like, I want to see you, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, of course, like, duh, they all do. And so I was like, okay, like maybe Saturday night, whatever. I go over Saturday night. He has this like cute ass dog. I'm like specific with dogs. This is like a little pit bull, like so cute with like little ears. Like I was like eating it up, love. We hook up. It's great, whatever. Then I'm like, okay, it's now, and like I don't sleep over. Like I want to be in my own fucking bed. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little. That's like an interesting thing. I look at my fake ass watch. I'm like, okay, it's like 2 a.m. and I have to teach the next morning yoga at like 9. So I was like, fuck, I need to wake up early. And I was like sitting there like twiddling my thumbs being like, call me a fucking Uber back to my apartment? Like, I'm not calling one. That's a blue job. So I'm like sitting there and he's like not getting it. And then like 5 minutes goes by. I'm like playing with this fucking dog, like just like looking at him. And he's like, oh, do you want me to call you a car? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, this is your last one. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, I can call my own fucking car, but like you have the free fucking Ubers. Why do you care? So he calls me one back reluctantly. I'm like, I'm never seeing this man again. He like continues to text me after that. I like entertain it because like whatever, like blah, blah, blah. My friend's in town last weekend and we got dinner at my favorite restaurant, like near my apartment. And we're walking there. And mind you, he had like WYD'd me like 2 days before this. And I didn't answer because I was with my friend. And I also like, I don't need to fucking answer you. And so we're walking to this restaurant and like, we're just chatting, me and my friend. We see this like dog walking past us. And my friend's like, oh my God, that looks like my dog, like so cute. And I look at the dog, I'm like, hold the fucking phone. I was like, I don't know that dog. And then I look up and it's him walking with another girl. And it was one of those where you're walking past someone and you like look up and make eye contact, but then you don't acknowledge that you made eye contact, so you keep going. And my friend like turns around to like, because I was like, holy fuck, that's like the guy. And so she turns around and he's like breaking his fucking neck to like look at me, like walk away. And she's like, oh my God, he's like, has not like turned back around yet. Like, what the fuck? So we go sit down in the restaurant. I'm like, that was insane. Like, whatever. Put my phone down. Maybe like 30 minutes later, I pick up my phone. He had texted me and he goes, like, men and the audacity, there's no word. I'm like, literally, I don't know what goes on in their fucking heads. Like, nothing, clearly. But he goes, LMAO, you didn't answer me, so I needed to find a new date. What? I was like, okay. I'm so glad you found a girl to go walk around town in your basketball shorts with your dog, like go on a chore with you. The fuck? I'm like, this is insane of him to say. Like, what the fuck? So I'm talking to my friend. I'm like, obviously showing her that we're going over it like 1,000 times. And she's like, what are you going to say? And I was like, I have something insane. That's just going to be like a huge fuck you in like that most effortless way possible. I basically responded like 45 minutes later and I put like question mark, like typed out question mark as if like, what are you talking about? I'm hosting someone this weekend, but free this week. Like as if I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see you. He likes my message. I'm like, poof, 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 poof. Like, fuck you. We've seen him since, but duh. I get a text from my friend who's like gonna be my roommate. And she's like, is this the guy you went on a date with? And she sends me a photo of his profile on Hinge and he liked her on Hinge. Now, why is this? Okay, like whatever, just random coincidence. I'm on her fucking profile. What is the game in your head that you're trying to play because it's not fucking working? Like, what? Two things. One, he could have just seen me and been like, all right, fuck this bitch. I'm going to like her friend and like get a reaction from her. I don't know if he was even thinking that far. I feel like that's totally like a girl thing to do. I don't know if he would think that hard. The second option is that he didn't scroll all the way to the end and see that I was on her profile and he just liked her. So I text him and I go, obviously in the most unserious, sarcastic way possible. I could not be dripping with sarcasm more than I was in this text message. I was like, saw you liked my roommate on Hinge. Are you trying to have a threesome? He goes, yeah, I'm so down. That sounds fun. Oh, no, fuck. Like, it's really hard to deal with them. It's really hard. Like, why do they think like this? Are you for real? So I'm like, okay, he's clearly like trying to like fuck with me or like something. He's just trying to play like innocent and be like, yeah, whatever. Like, you're so down, girl. Like, I'm down. I'm like, I'm not trying to have a fucking threesome with you and my fucking roommate. He's like, oh, why? And I was like, I'm sorry. What? I was like, you really shouldn't be liking a girl that you've fucked friend's Hinge profile. Like, I don't understand. You don't think it's gonna come right back to me? He's like, oh, like whatever, blah, blah, blah. So stupid. I was like, you're actually like so dumb. And then he starts asking me all these weird questions. He's like, would you have a threesome? Have you had a threesome? Like what? Like all this shit. And I was like, what the fuck? Why am I even fucking answering you right now? Like, what's going on? So my roommate's like dying laughing. She's like, this is insane. And I'm like, so you're telling me that you just like liked her profile and like didn't scroll to the bottom and see me on it? And he's like, no. I was like, okay. He's like, present. Like, we hooked up last week. But, you know, when the dick is good, you got to ignore the red flags sometimes. I'm the queen of that. You keep pushing, keep going, and you see how far you can get before you like actually go like fucking mental. The other M is, that should have been first actually. Like, so funny. So this guy I go on a date with, he takes me to this place that has like food. He like very like suave, like orders food, orders like the drinks. He's like, what do you like? I was like, mezcal. So he gets like my drink for me, like whatever. I was like, wig, like, thank you. We have a good time. We talk for like 2.5 hours. We like close the restaurant and we go to another bar after, and then I go home. I ended up seeing him again like that next weekend, which is like exactly what happened with the other one. Great sex. But what had happened is it was like one of these days where it was like torrentially downpouring in New York City for like an hour, and it was like thunder and lightning, and he showed up to my apartment like literally like dripping wet. I was like, okay. We watched this movie, probably the weirdest fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. I was severely on island time, which, slight tangent. Island time is an edible that my friends and I discovered one day at a dispensary near our apartment. It is like fast acting. Like, you get there in like 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 30 if we're being crazy. And we just came up with this like inside storyline where it's like, I mean, whenever you take an edible, like, you're always on island time. Like, your mind is on island time, you're on vacation. But with these specifically, we'll be like, okay, so I just went through TSA pre-check. I'm going into like the Delta Lounge. Like, you have to like update where you are in your stages of being high. And like top tier stage is like, I'm in the lazy river. I've had 3 Mai Tais and I'm wearing a lei that they gave me at check-in. Like, back to the regular story. So I'm deep on island time. Maybe I shouldn't have taken island time, but I was definitely like sunken into my couch when this man shows up. And we start watching this movie. And I think when I'm high, I like don't want to be touched. He's like trying to like cuddle. I was literally like, get the fuck away from me. And then we start making out. This man, I have to ask. I'm like, I wrote this down in my notes, but I was going, actually right after he left my apartment, because I was like flabbergasted. This man was like biting me, like biting my tongue, my lip. I was like, did you not grow out of your teething phase? What the hell? I was like pushing him off of me. I was like, bro, like, let's just get to the part where you put your penis inside of me, because like, I don't want to do all this shit. Like, this is not fun. So we fuck. It's like good. Obviously he has good dick. Like, this is the same kind of man three different times. It was then when I began to wonder, do men ever grow out of their teething phase? No. What the fuck? Who taught you that? Did you bite your mother's nipple? Like, what the fuck? Like, maybe he was just wanting to breastfeed. By the time it was in and out of me, I wanted it to end. So I said, okay, bye. And then I ghosted him. Okay, as I said earlier, Mr. Big Daddy New Year's Eve is back in the rotation. As of right now, who knows what'll happen when I release this, as these are pre-recorded. But last time we were back, we were out. That was actually pretty recent. So we had a bit of a spat, a falling out. We didn't talk for like a month. And then, of course, he came crawling back because duh. And now we're on again. But he does go on a month-long vacation next week, so who knows if he'll continue after that, but he's back in. Although I will say, before you just let a man walk all over you, you set your fucking boundaries. You tell them, you can come back in, but I'll tell you to get the fuck out, and I fucking mean it next time I say it. I told him, I was like, the next time you say anything remotely narcissistic, selfish, asshole, anything to me, I'm fucking done. I'm walking out the door. I'm shutting it. You're not allowed back in. I'm locking the fucking door. And he's like, okay. And he's been on his best behavior. So men are like dogs. Go to train them. Pavlov's dogs. Topic number 2. All my friends are getting boyfriends. I feel like there's a time in the middle of our 20s where the streets are whispering rather than calling our names. They're whispering. They're silenced. And you kind of get more of a spine and you're like, you don't want to be for the streets anymore. And that's fine. That's fine. For most people, I think this happens where you kind of hit this realization where you're like, damn, I don't want to be for the streets anymore. And that's okay. That's you, girl. I don't think that the streets are necessarily calling anyone's name in particular. I think the streets are a lifestyle, and we're not even calling them the streets. That sounds so like lawless and like criminal. Like, it's just you're having fun. But there comes a point in your 20s where you're like, I'm fucking done. Like, I want to like settle down. I want to find like a deeper connection with someone. Totally get it. Maybe it's just like who I surround myself with, maybe like stable, level-headed people. Not such unlike myself. It seems like people around me are craving those deeper connections and longevity, whatever the fuck that means. Am I bitter? Yeah. Do I need my girls with me? Yeah. I just think back to Sex and the City. Clearly, like, we love to return to that show because it's just so ever present and in our lives, especially in New York City in your 20s, where there's always going to be at least one single person. I'm never going to be surrounded by all married people or all people in relationships. Always going to be one girl. So that's all I need. And you think like they're in their 30s in that show and they're still single. So it's like, these people that they're dating are not forever. I'm just waiting until they come back to the streets. For example, for me, when I had my long-term relationship, I was like in the middle of like the biggest whore phase in my fucking life. Like, I was like knocking bodies left and right. And this kid like appeared and was like, they say that annoying ass fucking phrase that's like, it happens when you least expect it, which is so bullshit, but it like kind of, it reigns true in like a little bit of a sense, because they do appear when you don't want them to, but like they need to. And when you finally start to like love yourself and like realize that you're the most important person in your life is when you can allow someone else to enter the scene and like realize that about you. It's not that like you're sharing anything with them, like they're realizing how important and like desirable and awesome and sexy you are, and they want some of that. And it's up to you to decide if you want to give them some of that. You reach this like, fuck, I'm tired and I'm over it. And I'm like, all these dates, all these apps, all this like going out and like mind games and blah, blah, blah. It's exhausting. I'm right there with you, I acknowledge. But it's my passion, and I'm trying to figure out what is the perfect fucking algorithm, the code for surviving this decade of our lives. Because again, with it being like basically cut short by COVID, we gotta extend this slut phase. Even though we're getting older, mentally, we're still 22 years old. So that's what I have to say about that. I think it's fine. Get in a relationship, do it. But I'm sitting across the room and I'm waiting, tapping my fucking fingers for you to come back to mama. But I love observing my friends' relationships because I'm seeing like things that happened in mine where I'm like, yeah, that'll happen. Like, yeah, you'll realize this about yourself. Like, this will happen. Yeah. No, you should break up with him because of that. That didn't happen to me. For a lot of my friends, I will say it's like their first relationships, which is interesting. Like, truly, like a few of my friends have never been in relationships, and there's like a multitude of reasons for that. It's nothing that they're doing wrong or right. It's just it wasn't the time, and now is the time. And there's, people say first love, second love, third love, whatever, the science, the psychology behind anything. It's like, you got to have this, like, you're wearing like your training wheels. This person's like taking off your training wheels like you're riding a bike. Feels like we're having a quarter life crisis where we're all like freaking out. Like, dating is becoming like the worst thing in the world. Like, there's all these things happening like, with social media, with like dating apps. Like, it's become like a clusterfuck of like an obstacle course, basically, where you're trying to like also have a social life, also have a job, also like better yourself. Like, it seems like the impossible feat. So I feel like we're approaching that time in our lives where like, fuck, next year I'm going to be fucking halfway to 50, kill myself. Oh my God. Like, I need to like get married right now. Like, no. Unless you're in Utah, do it. You gotta. It's against your fucking moral code or your religion. I don't know. Love you, Mormons. But what I kind of was thinking about is like, I feel like relationships are very like cyclical. Like everyone goes through this like these types of relationships and these like phases as they correspond with your life. So like, for example, if you're in that like younger relationship in your teens, it's kind of like this like hell or high water, like fucking back and forth craziness. Like he does this, he talks to this girl, you've like hit him with your car, like, but like there's just all this like crazy shit that happens when you have your first relationship. Like coming from experience, my first ex-boyfriend was like a psychopath. That I think is like for your teens, because you're learning to like be an adult and be mature, and no one knows how to be mature together in a relationship. And then when you're in your 20s, you get into that like more serious relationship where you're like actually like, oh, could I see a future with this person? Like, could I like see them like, you know, in my future sharing a life with me, blah, blah, blah. And for the most part, when you're in a relationship, you're going to say yes to all of the above. Like no one who's like in a relationship is going to be like, I'm not marrying this person. Because why the fuck would you be in a relationship with them? Like you kind of have to give yourself, you got to wake up every morning and say, I'm either breaking up with this person or getting married to them. Like that is literally it. That is it. Or you die before either happens. That was super dark. Sorry. Cyclical in the sense that like there's this endless cycle of relationships that you experience. Like, and maybe you regress back to that like stage of being a teenager and being in a relationship that's super messy and toxic, because like sometimes you crave a little toxicity and you crave a little fun. Like you crave that like Blair and Chuck relationship. That is like my fucking dream relationship. Clearly there's something fucking wrong with me. Know that the person you're with now might not be the person you end up with, and that's fine. Live in the fucking moment, carpe diem, whatever the fuck. Stop letting men live rent-free in your brain 24/7, because they don't need to be there. That's you and your other 3 voices. You don't need a man's voice in there too. Peace and love to all my friends that have boyfriends. But if you're trying to get into a relationship, stop and enjoy your 20s. Stop looking in a mirror at what other people are doing and saying and acting, whatever, going on all these dates. Like if you're not, it's fine. You don't need to do what everyone else is doing. Appreciate yourself. Love yourself. Whatever. When other people can see that about you, can recognize that confidence inside of you, and that's when they want a piece of it. That's when they want to be in a relationship with you, and that's when you accept them into your life. So you need to let go of everything of like, I want this, I want that. Manifest it, bitch. You're not going to get it unless you put that energy out there, and you need to give that energy to yourself. Do people date to just date anymore, or is it just like we're dating to get a boyfriend? Like, do you know what I mean? People just like date. You're either looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend, or you're just like, I'm looking to have a good time. Looks like we're almost out of our slut juice. Time to get more. Final topic of today's episode. Something that I've been thinking about as I have encountered a lot of this in my daily life, and also just like seeing so many like TikToks, videos of people talking about how to talk to men in real life, how to DM a guy, how to approach a guy, blah, blah, blah. Because like not always they're going to come up to you. Like you could be making dead ass eye contact at a man. He's not going to come up to you. And then some other bitch will intercept and go talk to him before you. So it's like, we got to get there first. But it's terrifying, because why? I don't know. It's just like, like I don't want to send a DM to a man. Like this happened to me the other day. I see this beautiful man on Instagram, and he's like on a podcast with like one of my friends' podcasts, and I like reach out to her. I'm like, is he single? She's like, yeah, go for it. I'm like, okay, thanks for the help. Like, set it up, bitch. What? So I have to go DM him. I gotta fucking pull up my pantyhose, my britches, and DM him. Which, why is DMing a guy like so like, ooh? It's because it's a blue job. Pink jobs should not be DMing men. Blue job DM girls. I had to ask like 2 of my friends that I was with for advice. I'm like, how do I was like, what do I fucking say to him? I'm like so like shy. Even though that's so not me. I'm literally like, wanna fucking eat my pussy? Like, you know what I mean? But I just like got so nervous. It happens even to your camp counselor, Emma. I'm telling you, I'm just like you. I ended up sending him something, and then I like quite literally like threw my phone across the room and then like blocked him. Because all that to say, it's so hard to see a guy, especially on Instagram, because it's like, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I preach and I love that expression. And like, I do live by that 99.9% of the time. But sometimes you just like get stage fright and you're like, oh my God, what if he literally thinks I'm ugly? What if he thinks I'm fat? What if he thinks like, you know, what if he doesn't like my hair? What if it like, girls always get in their heads about how they're perceived by a man, I guess. We have to stop thinking like that. You have to think like you're so hot, like he would be lucky to like get a DM from you. Of course, this is like baby, you can hide behind your phone and DM a guy and like it's not like gonna affect you in like any way, shape, or form. What's the worst thing he can do? Like talk shit about you to his friends and then like unfollow you, like whatever. But, and also we used to do this in COVID all the time. Like we had our phones as our like right hand. Basically, we're like so tethered to them, like they're our umbilical cord. So it was so much easier to talk to people through your phone. But then obviously, like I've been saying over and over again, we're a socially inept generation because of the pandemic. And now when we go in person and try to talk to guys, it's like terrifying. You see a guy and you're like, oh my God, he's so cute. What ends up happening is like you go to the bar, you see a beautiful man across the room, you're like, oh my God, he's so hot. And your friend's like, go talk to him. And you're like, no, like I'm not gonna fucking do that. He can come up to me. He's not gonna come up to you. Like odds are low that he's gonna do that. If you think a guy's cute, you have to take initiative and go up to them. And it's terrifying because like, what do? You just go up and you're like, hi. Yes, literally. Like it doesn't take much. They have 2 eyes and a mouth and ears. They can hear and they can talk and they can see you. So you just have to say, hi, I'm Emma, like you're cute or something. Like but why is that so terrifying? Like it gives me like chest pains thinking about it. Like I don't want to go up to a guy and say that because why? Fear of rejection. That's just like every day we walk around with fear of rejection, making you feel shitty about yourself is what we're thinking of when we think of going to talk to a guy. So it's really hard to surpass that because the whole time you're like, fuck. Like, also, he's standing with a group of his friends. You have to go single him out and like talk to him in front of all these guys. Like that's mortifying. You kind of just have to like set aside your ego because that's the underlying thing here. Your ego is what's pushing you away from doing that. You have these 3 psychological factors that are with your ego, and it's your id, your ego, and your super ego. Okay, Freud is possessing my body right now. And your super ego is like your angel on your shoulder, and your id is like your devil on your shoulder, and your ego is like you. So your ego is basically like fighting with the good and the bad. The good's like, yeah, like what do you have to lose? Like do it, bitch, whatever. And the bad's like, no, he's gonna think you're ugly and fat, like don't do it, blah blah. And then you're in the middle like, fuck, like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. There's a lot that goes through your head when you're at a bar and those 5 seconds that you interact with your friends telling them you think a guy's hot and they're like, go talk to him. And then you literally have fight or flight. You're like, oh my God, no. I don't know, do whatever you need to do, illegal or not. And just go try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You tried it and then you leave that bar. Most likely, if you don't do it, someone else will. Because if you think he's cute, someone else does. So you got to get there first. I'll say it again, Hinge's idea of who's most compatible to me is highly fucking offensive, and I don't take lightly to it. It's rude. I'm like seeing like a literal toe on the app and it's like, you're most compatible with Edgar. And I'm like, what the actual fuck? Like it really takes your ego down a few notches, which in turn is probably why when you go out in public and you want to talk to a guy, your ego's already bruised from how impossible it is to date online. So you're like, okay, well, it's probably worse in person. It's not. It's probably better. Meeting people in real life, like 9 out of 10 times my friends who are in relationships have met their boyfriends in person. Like I do have friends who've met their boyfriends online, but more often than not, you form that like initial connection with a guy because you meet them, you meet their personality and who they like, you know what they look like and you know their vibe right off the bat. You don't have to like go on dates with them to figure that out. So it's an easier way of getting that connection right off the bat. Yeah, put your ego aside, stop giving a fuck. Take a shot and then go up to the guy. That's it. If you were to go to a bar by yourself and sit at the bar and get a drink by yourself and like read a book, people come up to you. Obviously, the worst that can happen is like, you know, maybe you meet a new guy friend in like your guy circle and you get friend zoned by him. Like, it's fine. Eventually he'll realize how sexy you are based on how many men you dangle in front of him. But never fuck your guy best friend, as we've talked about before. Duh. We talked about so many fun things today. Kept you updated on my roster. We're well into our sexy, flirty, sassy, slutty summer plan. We have a ways to go. It's so fucking hot outside. It's like so non-sexy to be sweating, especially with these bangs. They just glue to my forehead. It's really not a good look. So stay cool, stay sexy, stay slutty, finish your drink, finish your fucking mascara, pop your pussy, and suck a little dick. If you're nasty, don't forget to squeeze your thumb. Bye, sluts. Anyways.